They tell you discipline is boring, rigid, suffocating. They lie. They want you soft, weak, pliable. They want you to believe that indulgence is freedom and restraint is chains. But the truth, the brutal truth, is this. The undisciplined man is the most enslaved creature alive, a slave to lust, a slave to comfort, a slave to impulses that strip him of dignity. And when a man cannot govern himself, he will never govern the world. Discipline is not routine. It is power in its purest form. It is the silent weapon no one sees coming. While others waste their days chasing dopamine, you will be sculpting yourself into something relentless. Imagine this. The world tries to seduce you with ease, tempt you with shortcuts, distract you with trivial pleasures. But you, if you are disciplined, you don't move, you don't bend, you don't crack. You look temptation in the eye and make it kneel before you. That is the essence of untouchable strength. Without discipline, men rot. Their ambitions die in unfinished projects. Their bodies wither from neglect. Their minds drown in endless noise. Look around you. Most are already dead, breathing corpses guided only by impulse. They collapse when pressure mounts. They retreat when adversity strikes. They submit when offered comfort, and the world devours them without mercy. Do you want to live like that? Or do you want to become the man who endures when all others fall? You see, discipline is not punishment. It is liberation. The disciplined man is free because he is not chained by every fleeting desire. He doesn't need the world's permission to act. He doesn't need applause to validate his steps. He rises before dawn, not because he's told to, but because he commands himself. And a man who commands himself is a man the world cannot command. Comment this below. I build iron within. Say it like an oath, because discipline starts with the words you carve into your own mind. The weak call discipline a cage because they have never tasted true power. They think they're free when they indulge in every craving, but in reality, they're prisoners of their own weakness. They can't resist. They can't endure. They can't walk away from what destroys them. A man without discipline is a puppet, and the world pulls his strings. But a man with discipline, he cuts the strings, seizes the hand of the puppet master, and controls his own fate. There is nothing mystical about discipline. It is forged through repetition, through sacrifice, through an unrelenting commitment to mastery. It is not built in a single day of effort, but in thousands of silent choices that no one sees. When you rise while others sleep, when you grind while others gossip, when you resist the distraction that devours the weak, that is when you build iron within. That is when you take your first steps toward mastery. You must understand, life is war. Every day, forces conspire to break you. Lust will try to weaken your body. Comfort will try to soften your will. Distraction will try to scatter your focus. And people, most of them without even realizing it, will try to drain you, to use you, to pull you back into mediocrity. Without discipline, you will lose this war. With it, you will win battles most men will never even see. The Machiavellian truth is this: control is power, and discipline is the first form of control. If you cannot control yourself, you cannot control others. If you cannot master your own instincts, you will always be a victim of someone else's strategy. But once you master discipline, you become dangerous, because then every move you make is deliberate, every action is calculated. You are no longer a man reacting to the world. You are a man bending the world to react to you. Do not mistake what I am saying. Discipline is not about killing desire. It is about directing it. The undisciplined man wastes his energy chasing every whim. The disciplined man channels that same energy into building empires. Both men feel the fire of hunger, but one burns himself to ashes while the other forges himself into steel. Which one are you becoming? Hear me now. The moment you embrace discipline, you separate yourself from 90% of men. You step into a rare space where pressure fuels you, not breaks you. Where setbacks sharpen you, not weaken you. Where your word is iron and your will is immovable. That is the kind of man who cannot be broken. That is the kind of man who becomes a force others cannot ignore. So when I tell you to comment below, I build iron within, do not take it lightly. Do it with the weight of an oath, because every great transformation begins with a declaration. And that declaration becomes the seed of action, and that action, repeated day after day, becomes the fortress of discipline that no enemy, no storm, no temptation can breach. Remember this: discipline is not a choice you make once. It is the man you decide to become every day. It is the refusal to bow to weakness, the refusal to waste the fire burning inside you, and the refusal to let your life slip into mediocrity. Stand tall, build iron within, and prepare to walk the path of those few who are untouchable. Number 1. The enemy within. Most men think their enemies are out there: rivals, bosses, government systems. They're wrong. The deadliest enemy is inside. It's the whisper that says, "Rest, you've done enough." It's the craving that drags you toward comfort. It's the weakness that convinces you mediocrity is acceptable. That inner voice, soft and tempting, has killed more men than any battlefield ever could. You don't need to fear other men until you've conquered yourself. Because what good is power if your own impulses can drag you down into the dirt? Think of the great conquerors, the kings, the rulers of empires. Do you imagine they were destroyed only by armies, swords, and betrayal? Number. Many fell because they could not conquer the hunger inside them: lust, greed, indulgence. History is filled with leaders undone not by enemies, but by their inability to master their own weakness. A man who bows to his impulses may wear the crown, but he is no king. He is a slave dressed in silk. You must understand, weakness is not harmless. Weakness is the seed of destruction. It starts small: a skipped responsibility, a surrendered temptation, a promise broken to yourself. But weakness compounds, it grows, it spreads, and soon the man who once thought himself strong becomes hollow, fragile, incapable of standing tall when pressure mounts. Weakness is a disease, and only ruthless discipline is the cure. Discipline is the sword that cuts down the enemy within. Every time you rise when you want to sleep in, you swing that sword. Every time you choose focus over distraction, you drive that blade deeper into weakness. Every time you refuse comfort and embrace discomfort, you kill the part of you that wants to destroy you. The battle is endless, but with every strike, you become sharper, harder, more dangerous. The enemy within does not shout, it whispers. It disguises itself as kindness, telling you, "Take a break, you deserve it." It dresses itself as logic, whispering, "This one time won't hurt." It cloaks itself in false humility, saying, "Who are you to aim so high?" And if you listen, you fall. If you obey, you collapse. But if you recognize it for what it is, the sabotage of weakness, you can strip it of its power. A Machiavellian mind knows the most effective way to control a man is through his desires. If you cannot master your own cravings, someone else will. Advertisers, leaders, lovers, enemies, they will all pull your strings while you smile, believing you are free. They will feed your weakness because a weak man is predictable, and predictable men are easy to control. Only the man who masters himself becomes uncontrollable, untouchable, dangerous. This is why discipline is more than self-improvement. It is survival. It is strategy. It is the foundation of every throne that lasts, every empire that endures, every man who refuses to be broken. Without it, you are clay, easily molded by others. With it, you are granite, unyielding, sharp, immovable. Look at your own life. How many times have you betrayed yourself? How many promises have you made to yourself and broken? How many times have you let your weaker voice win? That is the enemy within laughing at you. That is weakness celebrating your defeat. But it doesn't have to be permanent. You can starve it. You can silence it. You can kill it with action, repetition, and cold-blooded self-control. Do not confuse this with perfection. The disciplined man is not without flaw. The disciplined man simply refuses to surrender. He loses battles, but he never loses the war. He feels fear, but he acts anyway. He feels temptation, but he resists anyway. That relentless refusal to kneel before weakness, that is discipline, and that is how you destroy the enemy within. You must also learn to weaponize your awareness. Weak men live blind to their inner corruption. Strong men see it, acknowledge it, and prepare for war against it. When you hear that voice of comfort, don't justify it, expose it. Say, "This is weakness speaking, and I will not obey." When you feel the pull of distraction, don't indulge it. Kill it with focused action. Each time you do this, you starve the enemy within. Each time you do this, your fortress grows stronger. Comment this below. I conquer the enemy within. Write it like a declaration, not a comment. Because when you put words into the world, you bind yourself to them. And when you bind yourself to strength, you weaken the chains of weakness. Remember this. The greatest wars are never fought on foreign soil. They are fought in the mind, in the soul, in the battlefield of daily decisions. No man is born disciplined. No man is born untouchable. They are forged in battle, inner battle, through relentless confrontation with the self. You want to build discipline that cannot be broken, then understand this truth. Your enemy is not out there. It is in here, and until you conquer it, you will remain at war with yourself. Number 2. The architecture of control. Powerful men are not built on motivation, they are built on control. Control over time, control over action, control over thought. Weak men wait for inspiration to move them, but disciplined men move regardless. They don't rely on moods, they rely on structure. They don't trust feelings, they trust systems. And it is this architecture of control that makes them unstoppable when others collapse. Think carefully. Chaos is the natural state of life. Distractions, emotions, impulses. They are storms that never end. If you attempt to resist them with willpower alone, you will be defeated. Even the strongest willpower burns out. But the Machiavellian understands, power is not in resistance, but in design. The man who builds systems around his life creates order that bends chaos to his will. That is the architecture of control. Discipline turned into structure, structure turned into power. Do not mistake this for rigidity. A rigid tree snaps in the storm, but a fortress of stone endures centuries. Structure is not about choking freedom, it is about channeling it. The disciplined man is not bound by his schedule, he is liberated by it. He does not wake asking, "What should I do today?" He wakes knowing exactly what must be done. His actions are predetermined by his own design, not dictated by emotion, not swayed by chance. Every empire is built on systems. The Roman legions conquered half the known world, not because every soldier was exceptional, but because their structure was unbreakable. Kings, rulers, and generals who built systems outlasted those who relied only on charisma and luck. The same is true for you. Without an architecture of control, you are just another man thrown back and forth by circumstance. With it, you become a storm that moves on its own terms. This is why your daily routines are not trivial. They are the foundation of your fortress. Waking at the hour you declare, training when you command, working with relentless focus because your system allows no excuse. This is how control is built. Weak men think structure suffocates them. In truth, lack of structure suffocates them because without it, they become slaves to distraction. You want mastery, then stop living on accident. Begin designing your existence with precision. Map your hours as a king maps his territory. Guard your routines as a general guards his army. Every wasted hour is a soldier lost in battle. Every undisciplined day is territory surrendered to the enemy. But every day of control, every hour claimed, is a victory. And victories, stacked endlessly, lead to dominion. The Machiavellian knows, to rule the external world, you must first rule the internal one. That means every part of your life must bend to your chosen order. Your phone, your food, your rest, your work, all must be governed by your structure. Do not wait for the world to hand you clarity. Impose it upon yourself. That is the architecture of control. Understand this. The weak are slaves to motivation. They wait for energy, for inspiration, for mood. But moods are unstable, temporary, deceitful. The disciplined man ignores them. He acts because the system demands it. And once you learn to operate by system, you become untouchable. Because nothing external can dictate whether you move forward. You move because you have designed it so. Some will call this obsession. Let them. The undisciplined always mock what they cannot achieve. They laugh at routines because they are owned by distraction. They sneer at structure because they are enslaved by chaos. Do not be like them. Their laughter is the sound of weakness trying to justify itself. Their mockery is the cry of men who secretly wish they had your strength. Comment this below. I bend chaos into order. Write it as an oath, because when you put words into the world, you are declaring to yourself and to others that you choose mastery over mediocrity. Routines are not about the act itself. They are about identity. Each time you obey your system, you are reinforcing the truth. I am the kind of man who does what must be done. And each time you betray your system, you reinforce weakness. I am the kind of man who gives in. This is why architecture matters. Systems shape identity. Identity shapes destiny. At first, this structure feels heavy, even unnatural. But the longer you hold it, the lighter it becomes. Like armor at first, it weighs you down. But soon, it fuses with you. It becomes part of your skin. What once required effort becomes automatic. What once demanded willpower becomes instinct. This is where true discipline lives, not in struggle, but in automatic execution. Your life is a kingdom. Either you govern it or someone else will. Build the architecture of control, and you become the sovereign. Fail to build it, and you will be ruled by your whims, your fears, your environment. That is not freedom. It is slavery disguised as choice. The Machiavellian man sees this clearly and chooses domination over his own life as the first step toward domination of the world. So hear me clearly. The enemy is chaos, and your weapon is structure. Build your fortress. Build your systems. Build your empire brick by disciplined brick. Because in the end, the man who controls himself controls everything. Number 3, the tyranny of comfort. Comfort is the sweetest poison a man can taste. It lulls you. It softens you. It convinces you that you are safe while it quietly strips you of power. Comfort is the silent killer of discipline, the assassin of ambition, the disease of kings who once conquered but now sit fat and blind on their thrones. It is not pain that destroys men, it is comfort. Look around you. Entire generations worship at the altar of ease. Food delivered at the press of a button, endless entertainment at the flick of a screen, attention shattered into fragments, men too weak to sit alone with their thoughts for even 5 minutes. And they call this progress. Number. This is regression. This is the systematic castration of masculinity, and only the disciplined see it for what it is: slavery wrapped in pleasure. The Machiavellian mind understands that comfort is not a gift, it is a chain. Every time you indulge in it, the chain grows tighter. Every time you surrender to it, the cage grows smaller. Until one day, you wake up and realize you cannot function without it. You need the softness. You need the ease, you need the distractions, and in that moment, you are no longer a man, you are livestock, fattened for slaughter. History proves this truth. Civilizations rise when men are hardened by struggle, but they collapse when softened by luxury. Rome fell not because its enemies were stronger, but because its people grew addicted to comfort. They abandoned discipline, they abandoned struggle, they surrendered to indulgence, and the empire rotted from within. Do you think you are any different? Do you think you can embrace constant ease without consequence? Number. You will rot the same way they did. The strongest men are forged not in comfort, but in fire. Steel is not created by stroking iron. It is created by hammering it, by bending it, by burning it until it is unrecognizable. Why do you think history remembers warriors, not hedonists? Why do we speak of conquerors and not the nameless millions who drowned themselves in indulgence? Because pain sharpens, because struggle shapes, because discomfort is the architect of greatness. This is why you must make an enemy of comfort. Not sometimes, always. You must learn to look at the easy path and spit on it. You must learn to train when your body begs for rest, to focus when your mind craves distraction, to sacrifice pleasure for purpose. Every time you deny comfort, you feed the wolf of strength. Every time you surrender to it, you starve him. Understand this clearly. Comfort is not neutral, it is not harmless. It is an active force designed to weaken you. Nature itself proves this. Animals raised in the wild are lean, sharp, fierce. Animals raised in cages are fat, slow, helpless. Which do you think the world respects? Which do you think survives the storm? Men are no different. If you let yourself be caged by ease, you will perish when chaos comes. You may ask, but why reject comfort if life offers it? Because the world is a battlefield, and only the prepared survive. Discipline is not tested in peace, it is tested in war. When loss strikes, when betrayal comes, when everything you built collapses. In those moments, the undisciplined beg for comfort, but the disciplined do not need it. They have trained without it. They have lived without it. They have mastered the art of thriving in the fire. That is why they endure when others vanish. The Machiavellian truth is this: comfort is a weapon used by rulers to control the masses. Bread and circuses, distractions and pleasures. If a man is drowning in ease, he will never rise against his master. He will never demand more. He will never realize his own chains. And if you want to become untouchable, you must break free from this trap. Reject the comforts meant to sedate you. Choose instead the path that others fear, the path of deliberate struggle. Comment this below. I reject the poison of comfort, because saying it makes you different from the millions who are asleep in their own cages. You do not need to eliminate all comfort from your life. You must learn to master it, to use it as a tool, not be enslaved by it. Comfort, when earned, sharpens gratitude, but when taken freely, it dulls the blade of discipline. The difference lies in control. The weak man seeks comfort constantly. The strong man allows it only when it serves him. That is the difference between a ruler and a slave. So I tell you now, stop fearing discomfort. Embrace it, chase it, make it your training ground. Cold showers, long hours, discipline in the face of exhaustion. These are not punishments, they are blessings. Because each one strengthens your will while the world around you grows weaker. Each one sets you apart from the millions who would rather drown in pleasure than rise in power. Remember this: empires collapse when their rulers grow soft. Men fall when they surrender to comfort. Families, nations, dynasties, all undone not by enemies outside, but by the rot of ease within. If you do not master this truth, you will repeat their mistakes. But if you do, you will become something rare in this age of weakness. A man who cannot be broken by comfort because he has already broken it himself. So burn this into your mind. Comfort is the enemy, and discipline is the weapon that slays it. Make an oath now that you will not bow to ease, that you will not kneel before indulgence, that you will not let softness claim you. Comment it once more. I reject the poison of comfort, and let the world know you are not like them. You are building discipline that cannot be broken. Number 4, the discipline of pain. Pain is the greatest teacher a man will ever know. Not books, not comfort, not empty praise. Pain. Pain strips away illusions and shows you the truth of who you really are. When you are tested, when you are pressed, when the weight feels unbearable, that is when the mask falls off and the real man beneath is revealed. Weak men run from pain. Strong men learn to master it. And the dangerous man, the untouchable man, makes pain his discipline. Understand this: pain is not your enemy. Pain is a mirror. It reflects back to you your weakness. When your lungs burn as you train, pain is telling you that your body is soft. When your mind resists focus, pain is showing you how undisciplined you are. When life breaks your plans and crushes your comfort, pain is reminding you that nothing belongs to you except your will. To fear pain is to fear truth. And the man who fears truth will always be ruled by lies. Most men build their entire lives around escaping pain. They chase comfort, pleasure, distraction, anything to silence that sting. But escape is an illusion. You cannot outrun pain. It will hunt you, it will find you, and when it does, the man who has avoided it his entire life will break instantly. He will shatter like glass at the first strike of adversity. But the man who has made pain his companion will endure. He will rise through storms while others drown. You must reframe pain as opportunity. Most men see it as punishment, as cruelty. But the Machiavellian mind sees it differently. Pain is information. Pain is the signal that growth is happening. Pain is the battlefield where discipline is forged. Without it, you cannot sharpen yourself. Without it, you cannot know your limits. Without it, you cannot transcend them. The man who avoids pain avoids evolution, and he condemns himself to mediocrity. Think of warriors, think of conquerors, think of leaders remembered through centuries. Every one of them was baptized in pain. They lost battles, they endured betrayal, they bled, they suffered, they sacrificed, and in those trials they found their strength. Their legacy was not built in pleasure, it was carved out of suffering. If you want to stand in the ranks of the untouchable, you must accept this. Pain is not an obstacle. Pain is the price. The weak will never understand this. They see discomfort and flee. They feel resistance and surrender. They meet adversity and collapse. They run back to comfort, thinking they've escaped, when in truth they've only enslaved themselves further. But the man of discipline, he does the opposite. He walks into pain deliberately. He welcomes it. He says, "Come, test me, sharpen me, break me if you can," because he knows pain is the forge that transforms iron into steel. Pain is not always physical. Often, the most brutal pain is mental. The loneliness of walking a path few dare to tread. The silence of sacrificing today for tomorrow. The sting of rejection, of failure, of humiliation. Most men crumble under these weights. They let shame destroy them, let failure define them. But you must understand, these are not endings, these are initiations. Each one is a rite of passage that tempers you into something stronger, colder, sharper. Comment this below. I turn pain into power. Because if you truly adopt this creed, you will rise above the weak who fear it. To master pain, you must strip it of its power to frighten you. You must look at it with clear, ruthless eyes. Physical exhaustion is not death, it is progress. Rejection is not failure, it is refinement. Loss is not the end, it is fuel. When you adopt this lens, pain ceases to be suffering. It becomes strategy, it becomes a weapon. You begin to seek it, not avoid it. And when you do, nothing can stop you. The Machiavellian man does not romanticize pain, he exploits it. He understands that pain breaks weak men, but it builds strong ones. He understands that every moment of struggle is a chance to build leverage over his enemies. Because while others are crying out for comfort, he is hardening himself. While others quit, he adapts. While others surrender, he sharpens. That is how the disciplined rise above the masses. They learn to weaponize pain. This is the secret most will never understand. The man who embraces pain becomes invincible to it. Once you stop fearing it, it loses its teeth. Once you stop running from it, it can no longer control you. And once you learn to love it, yes, love it, you become something terrifying. Because then, no enemy can use pain against you. Betrayal cannot break you. Loss cannot paralyze you. Suffering cannot bend you. You have already made pain your ally. So when you train, don't train for comfort. Train for pain. When you work, don't work until it's easy. Work until it hurts. When life strikes you, don't curse the storm. Thank it for sharpening your edge, because every ounce of pain you endure now is discipline being hammered into your soul. And the man who can endure the most without breaking is the man who conquers. Never forget this. Pain will visit every man, but only the disciplined transform it into power. Weak men are crushed beneath it. Strong men rise because of it. And the dangerous man, the untouchable man, uses it to build a discipline so unbreakable, so cold, so sharp, that no force on earth can stop him. So say it again with conviction. I turn pain into power, not once, not casually. Say it as the declaration of the man you are becoming. Because once you master this, you will not fear the storm. You will become the storm. Number 5. The power of ruthless consistency. Discipline is not built in moments of greatness. It is built in the monotony of ruthless consistency. Men love intensity. They love big bursts of effort, dramatic declarations, sudden transformations. But intensity fades. Consistency remains. The weak worship intensity because it feels powerful in the moment. The strong worship consistency because they know power lies in repetition. It is not what you do once that defines you. It is what you do every day, without fail, even when you don't want to. Understand this clearly. Greatness is not the result of grand actions. It is the result of small actions, repeated endlessly. Reading one book means nothing. Training once means nothing. Working hard for a week means nothing. Anyone can do that, but to do it every day, relentlessly, when boredom sets in, when fatigue whispers, when no one is watching, that is discipline, and that is what makes you untouchable. Consistency is the silent weapon of kings. It is not loud, it is not glamorous, it is cold, sharp, and relentless. Every day you show up, every day you execute, every day you refuse to surrender to mood or excuse, you are laying bricks. And brick by brick, you build a fortress that no enemy can breach. The world may mock you for your routines, but in time, they will bow to the empire those routines created. This is where most men fail. They love the rush of a new beginning. They start with fire in their eyes, passion in their chest, bold words on their tongue. But passion burns out, fire fades, and when it does, they collapse. They tell themselves, I'll try again later. But later never comes. Weak men live their whole lives in this cycle of intensity without consistency. They never build anything lasting. The Machiavellian man is different. He is not moved by passion. He is governed by law, his law. He does not chase inspiration. He chases execution. He does not ask himself whether he feels like doing it. He does it because it is written in his code. That code is his system. That system is his structure. And that structure makes him unstoppable. Think about water. One drop seems powerless, but a drop repeated endlessly will carve stone. That is the essence of consistency. One act of discipline may seem small, but repeated daily, it reshapes destiny. Do not underestimate the power of small actions. They are the foundation of mastery. They are the invisible force that separates the man who talks from the man who conquers. This is why consistency is more powerful than motivation. Motivation is fleeting, it comes and goes like the wind. But consistency is iron. It does not bend, it does not sway. It holds firm, regardless of weather, regardless of mood, regardless of circumstance. The man who builds his life on consistency cannot be broken, because his discipline does not depend on how he feels. Comment this below. I am ruthless in my consistency. Let the words remind you that discipline is not about occasional effort. It is about daily execution. Consistency requires a brutal detachment from mood. Some days you will feel powerful, other days you will feel broken. It doesn't matter. Your actions must remain the same. The world does not reward those who act only when they feel strong. The world rewards those who act regardless. The weak wait for the right mood. The strong act in every mood. And the dangerous man, the untouchable man, creates results even when his soul is screaming to stop. You must learn to fall in love with the mundane, the repetition, the grind, the process. Weak men crave novelty because boredom terrifies them. But boredom is the training ground of greatness. When you can execute through boredom, you unlock a power most will never touch. Because then, nothing can stop you. Not fatigue, not distraction, not failure, not even yourself. The Machiavellian knows consistency is not glamorous, but it is lethal. Because while others chase dopamine, he chases repetition. While others seek new thrills, he perfects old habits. While others waste their energy starting over and over again, he compounds his energy through endless persistence. In the end, it is not the man who works hardest in short bursts who wins. It is the man who never stops working at all. Look at history. Armies win not because of one battle, but because of countless small victories stacked together. Empires rise not because of one great decision, but because of endless discipline in governance, in structure, in order. You are no different. Your life is your empire. If you are inconsistent, it will collapse. If you are consistent, it will expand beyond what you thought possible. Consistency is also the great equalizer. Talent fades without it. Intelligence rots without it. Strength weakens without it. But the man who is consistent, even without extraordinary gifts, will always surpass the man who is gifted but undisciplined, because discipline compounds. Each day adds power, each repetition adds strength, each act of consistency pushes you closer to mastery. So engrave this truth into your mind. Consistency is the backbone of discipline. It is the invisible force that builds power quietly while others waste their lives loudly. Do not seek intensity, seek consistency. Do not chase excitement, chase execution. Do not wait for passion, rely on system. Say it again now. I am ruthless in my consistency. Let it not just be a phrase you type, but a law you live by. Because the man who masters consistency masters destiny. And once you master destiny, you are no longer just a man, you are untouchable. Number 6, the art of self-denial. Power is not only built by what you do, it is built by what you refuse to do. Self-denial is the edge of true discipline. Most men live as slaves to appetite. They obey their hunger, their lust, their urges, their need for validation. They cannot say no, they cannot deny themselves, and because of this, they are owned by their desires. But the man who practices self-denial becomes untouchable, because nothing owns him. Think about this. The most dangerous man is not the one who indulges in everything. It is the one who can walk away. The man who does not need pleasure. The man who does not need comfort. The man who does not need approval. Because when you no longer need, you cannot be controlled. Desire is a leash, and every man who cannot restrain himself wears it proudly around his neck. The world pulls, and he follows. But cut the leash, and suddenly you are no one's pet. Self-denial is not weakness. It is cold power. When you deny yourself what others cannot resist, you prove that you command yourself completely. When lust tempts you and you walk away, you are stronger. When comfort whispers to you and you ignore it, you are sharper. When the urge to waste time claws at you and you stay disciplined, you are unshakable. These small denials are not losses. They are victories, each one sharpening your blade. The Machiavellian mind knows this truth. The world is full of traps disguised as pleasures. Every indulgence offered to you comes with invisible chains. Excessive comfort weakens the body. Excessive entertainment rots the mind. Excessive approval-seeking makes you a puppet. Self-denial cuts those chains. It keeps you free, sharp, and in control. And freedom is not the right to indulge. It is the power to refuse. Most men confuse indulgence with strength. They boast about how much they can consume, how much they can take, how much they can handle. But consumption is not strength, it is dependency. The man who cannot stop himself is not strong, he is enslaved. The true strength is in walking away. The true power is in restraint. Because restraint is not lack, it is ownership. Comment this below. I master desire through denial. Because every denial is not deprivation, it is domination. Consider the great figures of history, the philosophers who withdrew from luxury to think, the warriors who fasted, trained, and marched without indulgence, the rulers who denied themselves softness so they could rule with iron. They understood what modern men have forgotten. Indulgence makes you soft, but denial makes you strong. If you want to rise, you must learn to cut off what weakens you, no matter how tempting it feels. Self-denial is training for war. Life is a battlefield, and every indulgence you refuse makes you more dangerous in it. When you fast, you prove hunger cannot control you. When you abstain from distraction, you prove boredom cannot break you. When you reject approval, you prove other men's opinions cannot sway you. Each of these acts of denial is a strike against weakness, a cut against dependency, a sharpening of your edge. The Machiavellian truth is this: indulgence is the tool rulers use to keep men docile. Bread and entertainment, endless pleasures. If a man is drowning in comfort, he will never rebel. If he is sedated by indulgence, he will never demand power. But the man who practices self-denial cannot be tamed. He is awake, he is sharp, he cannot be bribed, manipulated, or controlled. That is why self-denial is not merely discipline, it is rebellion. You must also understand, denial is not emptiness, it is exchange. When you deny weakness, you purchase strength. When you deny distraction, you buy focus. When you deny indulgence, you gain clarity. What you give up is trivial compared to what you gain: power. Weak men think denial makes life smaller. In truth, it makes life larger, because it frees you from the cage of craving. Weak men live for immediate gratification. They need the rush now, the pleasure now, the validation now. And because of this, they sacrifice everything long-term for crumbs in the short term. The disciplined man delays gratification. He trades today's softness for tomorrow's dominion. And when tomorrow comes, he stands above the masses who sold their future for cheap pleasures. Self-denial must become part of your identity. Do not see it as deprivation. See it as sharpening. See it as proof of sovereignty. See it as the declaration that you belong to no one, not even to your own cravings. Most men are ruled by desire. You must become the rare one who rules over it. That is how you step into true power. Say it again now: I master desire through denial, not as a passing phrase, but as a law, because every denial builds discipline, and every discipline builds power. Soon, what once felt like sacrifice will feel like strength, and what once felt like emptiness will feel like freedom. Remember this truth: the strongest man is not the one who consumes the most. It is the one who needs the least. The man who can walk away from pleasure is the man who cannot be bought, cannot be broken, cannot be enslaved. He is free, and freedom, in the Machiavellian sense, is the truest form of power. So learn the art of denial. Practice it daily. Reject what weakens you. Resist what distracts you. Refuse what chains you. And when you do, you will not only master discipline, you will become untouchable. Number 7, the cold discipline of isolation. They fear being alone. That fear is what keeps most men weak. They drown themselves in noise, in company, in endless distractions, because silence exposes them to themselves. They cannot face their own reflection without flinching. They cannot sit in quiet without hearing the hollowness of their own undisciplined lives. But isolation, when wielded with discipline, is not weakness. It is a weapon. It is the crucible where men of power are forged. Understand this: every great figure, every master strategist, every true ruler, at some point, walked alone. Why? Because isolation cuts off the noise. It strips away the illusions. It forces clarity. In solitude, you see your strengths without flattery and your weaknesses without excuses. Most men avoid this because truth terrifies them. But the man who embraces isolation becomes sharper than steel because he has faced himself without escape. Isolation is not abandonment. It is selection. When you step away from the crowd, you are not running from them. You are separating yourself from mediocrity. You are choosing to preserve your energy, to sharpen your focus, to train your will. The herd mocks the man who withdraws because they cannot comprehend a life without constant distraction. But while they laugh, you are building. And by the time they realize what you've built, it's already too late. They are too far behind. The Machiavellian truth is this: people weaken you more often than they strengthen you. Most men are time thieves. They gossip, they distract, they dilute your focus with triviality. Few will ever push you to higher ground. The majority will try, often without knowing, to pull you down to their level. But when you embrace isolation, you cut these chains. You protect your mind. You protect your time. You protect your discipline. Comment this below. I sharpen myself in silence. Let it remind you that solitude is not emptiness. It is a forge. Do not misunderstand me. This is not about becoming a hermit. It is about mastering the ability to be alone without crumbling. If you can walk alone, think alone, act alone, you are free. Because then, no one can manipulate you with loneliness. No one can trap you with dependency. You become whole, self-contained, sovereign. That is the essence of cold power. Weak men chase constant company because they cannot stand their own silence. They need noise to drown out their inner emptiness. They need people around them to confirm their existence. But the man of discipline faces the silence head-on. He stares into it until it bends to him. He uses it to sharpen his mind, to train his focus, to build clarity so cold and precise that the noise of the world cannot shake it. In isolation, your thoughts become your weapons. You study, you plan, you build strategies the distracted masses will never comprehend. You separate yourself from their noise and prepare moves they will never see coming. This is why Machiavelli himself understood the power of distance, of stepping back, of retreating into thought before striking with precision. Isolation is not absence, it is preparation. But understand the duality here. Solitude is a double-edged sword. For the undisciplined, it leads to decay. Time wasted, minds rotting, energy drained. Isolation without discipline becomes laziness disguised as peace. But for the disciplined, solitude is a forge. Every moment alone is an opportunity to sharpen focus, to train harder, to study deeper, to build without interference. Weak men rot in solitude. Strong men sharpen. The dangerous man conquers. Think of the lion. He does not roam in crowds. He moves alone or with a select few who are equally sharp. Be the lion, not the sheep. The sheep crave the herd because they fear the wolf. The lion walks alone because he fears nothing. This is how you must view isolation, not as weakness, but as the ultimate proof of strength. The Machiavellian also knows how to weaponize absence. Too much presence breeds contempt. Too much availability makes you ordinary. But when you withdraw strategically, your value rises. Scarcity breeds respect. By disappearing into isolation, you sharpen yourself. And when you return, you strike with precision, presence heavier than before. This is not retreat, it is discipline. Comment again. I sharpen myself in silence. Because the man who can sharpen himself without applause, without audience, without distraction, he is the man who will carve his will into the world. Isolation also teaches you emotional sovereignty. Most men panic when left alone because they depend on others for their sense of worth. But the disciplined man learns that solitude is not loneliness, it is command. He does not need to be validated, entertained, or comforted. He carries his own weight. He becomes his own fortress. And once you build that, no betrayal, no abandonment, no exile can break you. This is why you must train yourself to seek silence deliberately. Turn off the noise, step away from the herd, spend hours alone, working, thinking, writing, training. At first it will sting because you will face yourself. But soon you will realize that sting is sharpening you. That silence is building you. That solitude is transforming you into something the noisy masses will never touch. So embrace the cold discipline of isolation. Learn to sit in silence without breaking. Learn to work in solitude without complaint. Learn to sharpen your mind when no one is watching. Because if you can master this, you will never fear being alone again. And once you no longer fear isolation, you are free from one of the deepest chains that binds men. Say it once more. I sharpen myself in silence. Not as words for today, but as a creed for life. Because silence is not emptiness, it is where kings are forged. And when you return from it, you will not return as you were. You will return as something sharper, colder, untouchable. Number 8, the weapon of patience. Power is not just speed, it is patience. The impatient man reveals his hand too soon. He lunges, he reacts, he exposes weakness. The patient man waits, studies, and strikes only when the advantage is absolute. That is Machiavellian patience, cold, deliberate, lethal. Most men are slaves to urgency. They chase quick results, instant gratification, immediate wins. And because of this, they burn out or are easily manipulated. But the disciplined man plays the long game. He plants seeds others will never water. He invests in systems others are too restless to build. And when the impatient collapse, he endures. Patience is not passive, it is strategic. It is knowing when to act and when to wait. It is storing energy until the strike guarantees victory. A storm does not rage endlessly, it builds quietly until the sky breaks. Be that storm. Comment this below, I master time through patience, because the man who owns time owns power. Number 9, the unbreakable discipline. All of this, pain, denial, consistency, isolation, patience, leads here. Unbreakable discipline, a fortress no enemy can breach. The man who commands himself commands his fate. Others break under pressure. You will not. Others surrender to comfort. You will not. Others live and die as slaves to weakness. You will not. This is the Machiavellian truth. The disciplined man is feared, respected, and untouchable, because nothing external controls him. Betrayal does not bend him. Loss does not shatter him. Pain does not own him. He walks through fire and emerges sharper. He turns every attack into fuel. This is mastery, the cold, relentless command of self. You do not need to shout it. You do not need to prove it. The results will announce you. The fortress you've built will speak louder than any words. Comment this below. I am untouchable. Say it as a declaration, not a wish. And if this message has sharpened your will, then like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because here at Seires, we do not create comfort, we create power.